Welcome back to another episode of Talking Shirt. We haven't done one of these in a very long time. Let's just say everyone in the UK is enjoying their lives and avoiding my call. But I finally got onto someone that I've been a huge fan of. It is Jake, aka Jake Kit Nerd. Mate, how you doing? Also, please let us know who Kelly Johnson is as well, because it's saying that your name is Kelly Johnson is on this chat.
Thanks. No, hi. It's nice to finally actually chat to you. Yeah, that's my wife, and this was used for during lockdowns when my daughter was doing drama lessons virtually, which was terrible.
Oh, yeah. So how was the drama lessons? Did you get involved with that, seeing that we couldn't do much at home last year?
I kind of did. Tried to get involved in trying to keep her focused on them because it was very difficult because it was 3 hours of her being locked in this very same room on her own with just this screen for company, and watching other people do stuff is not that interesting for 3 hours at least.
But with that being said, if it was either you and I, and we spend hours on eBay or Depop and just the websites, that takes our interest away for hours and hours. And I think our wives would definitely have an issue with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. The reason that my daughter went to bed late tonight was because she was actually looking through shirts on Depop with me and pointing out all the ones she liked.
Did she choose anything
liked
specific?
Ones,
of course. The bright colors.
Mostly pink ones, bright ones. The UV human race one she quite liked.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, well, you got a bit of an expensive child there. Someone's going to want the exclusives. I just bought my daughter a Valencia 99 2000 brand new in box kit. And let's just say, like, the fact that it's older than her by 20 years freaks me out. Like, how is a shirt older than her? Then I realized that you and I definitely have some shirts that are older than us. So it's crazy to think that, yeah?
Yeah, I use it as a frame of reference when I try and impress my family, which it doesn't work. But it's I frame it. My sister-in-law was born in 1995, so I kind of tend to say, "Oh, this is older than your aunt," or like, "This is 3 years older than your aunt," or yeah.
It's funny now. I'm thinking when I have the guests come over in the future, I'm going to be like, "Hey guys, I'm going to bring you something that's aged very well," and they're going to think, "Oh, he has some Gouda, he has some wine, he has something specific for us." And then I'm like, "Look at this beautiful shirt from Adidas in 1991. It was the Premier League. It was like perfect. It was the happiest of happy times." And everyone's, and I was like, "This is the perfect red that I can show you. It's a perfect United or perfect Bristol City."
Yeah, it's highlighted really, really well. It was definitely good. It was a good year.
It was. I think any kit from the 90s was, I think I saw a post yesterday. Someone's like, if we were to choose a 90s kit, what manufacturer would be your favorite? So that question goes out to you. 90s kit, what was your favorite manufacturer of the era?
I think growing up, I always used to like the Adidas EQT stuff with it coming down the shoulder. But I think I've changed, and I quite like the old Nike kits, really. Whether it be the Dortmund, sort of harking back to the old Dortmund days.
Yeah.
I mean, they did great stuff with 1860 as well, didn't they? And then you see Adidas doing it now with Arsenal, and they're some of their kits back in sort of like the mid to late 90s were brilliant. So I think I'd sway. I've changed my opinion as I grow up.
I think Adidas were definitely at the start of it doing really well, and towards the late 90s they sort of lost their thing. I think even Nike did that, but Umbro was by far the unspoken heroes for me. I think Umbro had the sort of connection to football that not many people could get connected to. I think you look at United shirts and all that, and I think Umbro had this generation where it was just unspoken of. Like Adidas, yeah, they've done the Bruised Banana and they did the this one here, the United Snowflake one, the trefoil.
Yeah.
And I think when we look at today's kits, do you think in 20 years' time it's going to be Adidas? It's definitely not going to be Puma. You and I spoke about Puma's disastrous couple of days. We'll speak about that towards the end of this episode. But what manufacturer do you think in the last, let's say, 10 years has been really doing good?
I think Nike has probably pulled it back because they had their. Some people have sort of said this new Puma lot is actually quite similar to the way that they approached certain third kits, then you had that range of national kits. So there was, everybody had sort of off-coloured sleeves, whether it was Portugal, England, France, etc. And they were very templatey and very boring, I would say, as well. So none of those kits really stand out apart from being boring. Or the France one that did stand out had two different colour sleeves, but then they got told off about it and couldn't use it anyway. So I think that they've done well in terms of bringing their reputation back. I've always thought Adidas have been pretty solid with what they do, but they've not been too adventurous in the last few years, especially with their insistence on using the stripes, with the sort of the increase in use of sleeve patches, meaning that it doesn't go all the way down, has really ruined it, but they still insist on having those three stripes up there. Now everybody knows you're the three stripes. Have them on like on the down the side or on the shorts, have them on the socks. You don't even necessarily need it, just have the logo. People know who you are, but they still insist on having these jarring three stripes up there. So even with the new, not the new Ajax, but the home one, they're silver, so they seem to be trying to hide them, but they still want people to see them. But it's like, just they don't have to try so hard.
I know. I think it's sort of that. I call it the Mandela effect. I think when we look at certain, Adidas kits and we're like, oh, this is an Adidas kit, but we don't realize there's no three stripes on those shirts that were like famous back in the early 90s. But we do remember certain templates. I think when we think about that generation of Adidas kits, I think Real Madrid, France had it. It was that weird sort of like F50 design. And I think, so like when we talk about football designs and staying away from that sort of iconic style they had, I think Nike, even though Drake Ramberg is like the holy godfather of everything, whether it's PSV, whether it's Marseille, whether it's PSG, and we can talk on for hours how many teams, Dortmund, but I feel like we don't really understand like today's generation. I feel like there's so much influence going into shirts that there is one designer at Nike, and his name's Lane Porter. He's had like, I think it was the PSG kits and stuff. But do you think that there's going to be a bit of a trend being set up by certain clubs? Like, do you see what Nike's doing? Do you see what Adidas is doing? And of course, we see what Puma's doing. But do you think there's a manufacturer that's really trying their best to have a style with their work in the current times?
No, because a lot of the kits you do see, they tend to hark back to a previous design. So it was something that I was listening to today, which was hip hop samples and where they came from.
Yes.
And it was something that led into No Diggity. And I was like, didn't know that song was a sample of something, and yet somebody has sampled No Diggity in the future, and it just keeps going like that. And the fact that you get a lot of the modern kits now do hark back, whether it be a different manufacturer or not. So it's kind of, are today's kits going to be classics, in the fact that they are just harking back to something else? They're just a rehash. You do get some genuinely original kits, like the Spurs one, and some of the Leipzig shirts this season, or this Marseille one. But yeah, a lot of them are always trying to say, oh yeah, well this is what we wore back when we won a championship, or when we celebrated our 100th anniversary, or something like that. So I think there's a lot of that going on. But I also think that there's a lot of smaller manufacturers are making good strides. So whether it be, I think Charlie, I'm kind of biased. I think I tend to see a lot of Mexican shirts, but Charlie have done some really good stuff, especially with their Zolos, like Day of the Dead, and so I think that they're doing quite well. And I think that people are appreciating those more than they used to. I know when I was younger, I used to be disappointed when Bristol City weren't getting a big name, and then they got Adidas, and I was like, wow, this is going to be brilliant. And then they were immensely disappointing. And then we used our own designer, and it was actually okay. And then we're getting Hummel now, and I think Hummel this season, or the last 2 or 3 seasons, have really done really well, even with some of the templates that they've used. So the Bristol City home shirt last season was very similar to the Middlesbrough home shirt, or Charlton, I think it was, but it still didn't feel too templatey. because they put their little embellishments on there, and I think they tap into a club quite well, the understanding and the history of a club quite well, and I think that's important without just rehashing a popular one from previous years.
Yeah, I think there's so much to just dissect from that last bit you just said, because there's a fun fact that I want to talk about quickly. Music samples. Did you know that A$AP Rocky used an Apple sample jam pack, the flute sounds in one of his songs? I'm sure a lot of the listeners will understand this. So it's funny when you talk about samples and like taking inspiration from the past. So we are seeing that a lot lately, and I think Puma's really sort of tried their best to do that. I was pretty disappointed. You know, I'd also have that Dortmund shirt, as you can see here, that you've got. I was really excited, but then also disappointed to see their home shirt for this season. And I thought to myself,
Mm.
like, what is Puma trying to do? Like, they may have these exciting times of showing that they're trying to be cool, but then they also disappoint. So I understand where some brands like Adidas, mainly because of their, you know, Bruised Banana and even their home shirts for the Highbury this season. I have a feeling there's a bit of like, there is that bit of trying to call back to the 90s to make a bit of money to sell the shirts. But do you think there's a lot of hit and misses lately with the shirts? Like there's, how can I say this? Like Inter Milan, you know, they're always going to sell shirts no matter what. I feel like they're a neutral club, so that they're definitely going to sell shirts. But do you believe that there are shirts out there from small teams that have had nice, beautiful throwback kits and no one's cared about?
Um, I think maybe there's the whole one, a whole city one. So they've
Exactly
got
what I was
I
thinking
know
about.
everybody's kind of over blackouts a little bit,
I
but
know.
it is quite nice what they've done. Um, and I think even if you talk about the Spurs kit, so a lot of people to begin with were saying that was horrible, and actually if somebody had stuck a PSG badge on it, then they probably would change their opinion.
Is this the
So I
Spurs
think
home
that
kit
there
this
is.
season?
Is it the away or the third? The
The
basically the crazy cosmic one.
Yeah, it's the third. It's
Um,
the third. I think no, second. So it's away.
yeah. So it's just that if somebody else had put a different badge on it, then I think people would think about it differently. So I think a lot of
Exactly.
smaller clubs have to play it safer, because I think well, once you get to a level of obscurity, so whether it's sort of the non-league like Forward Madison, etc., or even
Mm.
Rogerstone, sort of they're from sort of Newport in Wales, not too far from me. That kind of level, people then just disassociate because they have absolutely zero concept of what you are as a brand. So
Yeah.
if they're just buying into the shirt, but when it comes to Spurs, you kind of got the connotations of Spurs in there already, so you already prejudge. Um, but yeah, I think that kind of taints it, and I think with the Inter one was the two Inter ones are actually quite interesting, because I'm a bit of an Inter fan on there, thanks to Ronaldo coming along at the right time. Um, I didn't like the home shirt to begin with. Then I did, and I actually bought one. I I got the away anyway, but I didn't really like it that much. And again, that one's another callback. That one's of saying, okay, this one was quite nice. We'll make it very similar to this. And I think that they're a bit iffy, but they're not really helped by the sponsor. And that Juve one that was released today has really hit
Oh,
really wide of the mark.
yeah. It's a bit of a
Um,
heartbreaking one.
but I do appreciate what people are trying to do. We may talk about it a bit more in depth with Puma, and I appreciate
Yeah.
the fact that they're trying to innovate and push things. People try new things, and that's better, because I mean the new Manchester United home shirt. I think it actually does do well, but when you initially see those leaks, you just go, "That's really boring. There's nothing going on here." And I think that what people do want to see sort of more bold movements, and I think that's maybe why some of them have been so disappointing, is people haven't been eager to push.
Yeah. Mainly big manufacturers get scared. I think another thing I wanted to say in that last bit was also the music reference. We'll talk about some one-hit wonders, and I think when it comes to the brands and the clubs, you know, I'm wearing, you know, the Penne, and there's NRA, and there's so many brands out there that in the 90s were sort of existent and now have become pretty distant. They've, you know, gone quiet. We're seeing new brands and new manufacturers come into play. We're seeing Armani take over Napoli, I'm pretty sure, and they were
Yeah,
horrible, horrible creations. So I think when we
doesn't
talk
look
about,
good.
No, it doesn't. And like when we talk about clubs like Ford Madison, when we talk about the clubs around the world that have this connection to fans, no matter what design, people are going to buy their kits. And then we remember about Venezia and we remember about Red Star Paris, two teams that
Hmm.
just recently moved to Kappa, and there was so much hype about them. Now, personally, I love the home Venezia shirt. I think it was perfect. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on their away and third shirt? Like, it's just, I feel like no matter what, they're going to sell the kits because everyone's going to be like, I need to jump on this trend. Do you believe that at the moment there's a bit of a cloak and dagger sort of vibe where it's like no matter what, people are going to buy it and then spend their money and then regret it? Or do you think it's just smart marketing?
I think that they are kind of banking on last year's success.
Mm,
Although, well, the previous 2 seasons have been quite good for Venezia. And with Red Star, I think that with this year, that's very wide of the mark. That I was very disappointed with Kappa, but I felt initially with the Venezia that they were trying a bit too hard with the home shirt. But I think it's one of those where, as it seems to be with a lot of shirts, actually, it's kind of growing on me over time, and you see it on the pitch, and that's always my one of my follow-up tweets is, as always, now I've seen it on the pitch.
looks
I
good.
actually quite
Yeah.
like it. There's the same with the Inter one that really sort of rammed it home that I do actually quite like the Inter home.
Mm,
But the away is okay. I appreciate the design, but I wouldn't want it. The third is just a bit strange. The color, I don't really, they just jar a bit for me. Um, I appreciate that they're kind of trying to stick to the colorway of the brand in there and also have a definitive different third color. So
yeah.
that they're kind of putting these clashes together. But I think that yeah, there is an initial hype that does go a bit bonkers because I know that when there was talk when it initially came out, and it's the same with the Ajax today. It was kind of, oh, I've got to have that one today. Oh, the Ajax site's crashed. Oh, I know it's saying it's sold out. But if you're calm enough, like people like Subside Sports, and I think even Classic Football Shirt said that they're going to stop with Venezia, so
Yeah.
they're going to
Well,
have it. If you just wait a month or two, then
yeah.
there
There's
you
no
go.
rush.
But you don't have to pay the massive import taxes and things like that. But there is that clamor of maybe there's that because they become sort of, I don't want to use that term, hipster. They become sort of the hipster hype club. That
Hmm.
because if you are one of the first people to get it as well, you kind of benefit from that as well. You kind of get some kudos from that more than you would if you get it 2 months
Six
down the line
months.
from
Yeah.
CFS.
It's crazy to think. I feel like I always say this to a lot of my viewers. I have this thing where it's like football shirts are not Pokemon. You don't have to catch them all, you know? Like you don't have to rush into it. There's no need and there's no point putting yourself into some sort of debt to buy a shirt. And like sometimes I feel like collecting can be seen as a bit of a gambling addiction where, we see a shirt, we get so happy, we get so excited, we spend our money and then we're like, "Oh fuck, like why do we spend our money?"
What's the next one?
Yeah, and like that's a bad trend. And I do hope like, the community does bond together for that reason. And this is why personally I've been really excited during, lockdowns and stuff to speak to people like yourself, is because it's that sort of it's that idea of waiting for a shirt, no rushing, seeing what other
Mm.
people think about it. So talking about that and your Depop and stuff, tell everyone what you do with your shirts because I love the videos that you post and I hope to see a lot more in the future on Twitter. So everyone listening, make sure you check out Jake Kit Nerd on Twitter. But explain to everyone what your sort of go-to is: buying a shirt, reviewing it, and then selling it. Like, what's the go?
Thanks. No, I'm glad you like the videos. Basically, I don't have enough space in my house or money for an actual collection. But I really like football shirts, and the good thing is I don't really tend to wear them that often either. I find that even if I do have one I wanted to keep, like this one, I tend to I tend to only want to wear them for about half an hour for fear of catching them on something or some small child throwing something
Yeah.
stain worthy at me. Um, so yeah, what I tend to do is buy shirts that I like the look of, and then just have them hanging around as we go here. Normally, I'll have one or two in front of me while I work, and then I'll end up passing them on. But yeah, it started with just 3 shirts and uh, a few quid here and there, and then I've just sold them on and gotten a bit bigger and bigger from there, really, and got involved in the community. But it was never a money making thing. It was always about connecting with people. So you and I doing this is sort of almost the sort of pinnacle of what I set out to achieve. I now play football with some people that I wouldn't have had I not started doing what I was doing. I've connected with certain people. Some people have come and collected shirts from my house, and I've had good chats with them. So yeah, it's the community thing. It's really helped with my head and get me through those lockdowns as well.
Yeah, it's been a tough one, and I think what you said is perfect. The fact that you and I can connect, and so many others listen to this. It's just been a great time, I think, for football in general. Like now we're seeing fans back in the Premier League, which is exciting, and across the world. But it's also great to have people like yourself, because then we don't rush into buying certain shirts. Now, one of my biggest regrets of recent times, and I can blame my good friend Rick FC. I don't know if you follow him from Brisbane.
Yeah.
He loves the technology of shirts, and we'll talk about this sort of stuff in your next video that you made recently. But what's the biggest regret of a kit that you've purchased and then you had to sell it? For me, recently, I'm not selling it, but my biggest regret was buying a brand new PSG away shirt with Messi on the back.
I've done it a couple of times. In that I've sold something and then gone, oh, do you know what? I actually wanted that, and then tried to find a good deal to get it back. Then tried to limit myself because I knew I would want to sell it anyway. So I've had the 2021 Inter Home shirt, the zigzag kind of one. I've had that twice because I had it once, and then I was like, that one is from me. I'm going to keep that one. And then all it did was, instead of being in a box until it was sold, it was just being in a box. So eventually I was like, I should probably just sell that because I'm not going to wear it because it's got tags on it, so I'm not going to take them off.
Yeah.
So I did eventually sell it, and then as soon as it was gone, I was like, oh man, I really want that shirt back. And then I managed to get a good deal on it, got another one, and then I have sold it again.
But how do you do that? Like, when you look at my rack, I can't separate. Like, I can't get away from these guys.
I do find myself. So what I've done to kind of help with that, I think, is I catalog pretty much every shirt I've bought or sold, or at least I'm trying to anyway, because I'm up to about 400, and actually I've just gone past 433 because of the formation, so it rang in my head. Yeah. But I'm on shirt 433 is the one I've bought to sell in.
Wait, you've got 433 shirts?
I've gone through 433 shirts.
Oh, jeez.
So that's what number I'm on, having purchased.
Oh wow, jeez. I probably should start finishing off my cataloging, because I got stuck at a certain point and I was like, I need this shirt. So is there one shirt that you need but you will never sell?
This one, I will never sell this one. So this was my
tell
girl
everyone
shirt. So
what
this
it
is the first. So this is a 1992-93 Bristol City home shirt. I might knock my scarf off here, so I'm not going to bother. But
no, nice little.
It was basically the first shirt I ever owned as a 7-year-old. Oh, so wow. Normally I'll end up going with more modern shirts. So sort of I usually only end up going back sort of 5 years or so, but occasionally I'll get something that's a little bit more vintage. But this, I was always like, I want that shirt because it's the thing that started me off on my not even just football shirts, but football in general, my footballing journey. And I managed to get it from the Ukraine of all places. Wow. But it's in fantastic nick, and it's the one that I had my very first shirt as well. So I was very happy to get that. So that basically that one cost me an arm and a leg. So there's no resale value in it to me anyway.
Definitely not.
But it's full of sentimental value.
So just to be correct, is that Bristol City or Bristol Rovers?
Bristol City. So the Rovers are the blue and white ones.
Yeah, I was just trying to set you up there, see how much if you hated them or not.
Well, I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and it's gotten to a point where some Bristol City fans wouldn't mind seeing them promoted so that they're at the same level, so we can have a derby again. So it was long, and there was a Bristol Rovers fan I was talking to. He says basically, I don't mind City as long as I don't want them to get into the Premiership.
So it's not like Portsmouth and Southampton. No, is it? No. Is it? What's the hatred Portsmouth has? Yeah, that's all right. Portsmouth, Southampton. Yeah. I was talking to Shohit's fan, and he fucking hates.
But there was a point when I was growing up when Bristol City and Bristol Rovers were in the same league, and they were
Yeah.
both going for the title in that league as well. It was Division 2, I think, which would have been the third tier at the time. So it would have been what's now League One in England. And that got pretty tasty when things came along to, I didn't live that far from the Bristol City Stadium. So there was
Nice.
lots of ruckus about it because it was peak English hooliganism.
Yeah. I think we'll talk about when we talk about the recent Euros and like the actions of some fans, and then we look at the what it was back in the day. It's like it's just crazy to think how far football's come, whether it's on the pitch, in the football shirt community, music, and I think we're sort of getting to a pinnacle, or just a point now where I think the football shirt community and football is just connecting. We're hopefully seeing a lot of positive things. I think we're going to get creative once things open up. Fingers crossed. I know I'm dealing with a bit of lockdown stress down here. Haven't really been like our state premier the other day said it's illegal to look at sunsets. So I
Oh wow!
uh so like at the moment I think
Yeah.
football shirts have been really exciting. So is there something I don't know, something football shirt related that's that's recently taken interest to you, or shall we speak about the Puma shirts that have really broken our hearts?
Yeah, that's the thing that's really playing on my mind at the moment, especially as we had a little bite of that cherry in the Euros, and now it's come sort of quite strongly back again.
Yeah. It's on your Twitter here, and you said, wait, they've sold two. And I'm looking at that photo and I'm thinking to myself, like, are these shirts going to become iconic in the future? So let's start from there. What are your thoughts on Puma's third shirts, and what do you think has gone in their minds? Like, why are they doing this to us? Do you think it's just Puma knowing that they're going to make money nonetheless, or do you think fans are going to buy into it?
Well, I don't know. So first of all, I hate them. As I said earlier, that kind of initially a lot of the time I'll be like, oh, I really hate that. So it's the Liverpool shirt, the home shirt. I said I hated that, and I thought it was terrible. Now I don't think it's too bad. I don't necessarily like it, but I think it's grown on me. The Inter one I thought was more like a training shirt, but now I actually really quite like it, especially when you see it on the pitch.
Yeah.
But with these, I can't find myself liking anything about them. Whether it be the fact that they just look like fan shirts from a cheap site, or when you're on holiday and you're just seeing that. There was a great image of someone. It was like a market, sort of almost like a market shop, and you saw the shirts hung up in
Yeah.
as you were walking in the shop from the canopy, and it was like, yes, you know that as you've been on holiday and you buy cheap shirts. That was exactly brilliant. It was right on the nose, and I kind of understand what they're trying to do, in that they're trying to push for something new and push for something innovative. And if they got it right, they would change everything, and they would be the ones that changed everything. So I appreciate that that's what they were trying to achieve in that sense. But I just think that it's completely wide of the mark. I think I felt really bad that I can't recall who it was, but somebody made a very succinct point that by removing the badge, you kind of the shirt is the badge. That's the connection between the players and the fans.
Exactly.
And there was that Fenerbahce player who went to kiss the badge and literally was like, "I don't know where I'm supposed to do this."
Do you think he knew
And it
that?
was like, well, that was funny. Yeah, I think it was just more like muscle memory type thing. And it was like, oh, I can't do it there, can I? So where am I supposed to do it now?
That was perfect
Um,
timing.
It really was. It was like first outing, bang, straight out of the gate. But by removing that and relegating it, you put the Puma brand front and center. Then they may be saying, oh no, well the club is still there, but the club isn't the writing. The club is more represented by that crest. And by relegating that to being within the sublimation that you can't always see, it doesn't really work. And I think that the difference between the Euros ones and these ones was the lack of sponsors. So there was always whether it was Austria across the front or Italy, Czech Republic, it was there still front and center, even though it was smaller than the Puma logo. But with these, you've got like Etihad, or even you're going to have Uber Eats.
I'm looking at the photos now.
And then
It's
you've
just
got
disastrous.
there's a lot of writing. So you get Manchester City, then you've got Etihad, and you've got Airways, and then it's the same with the PSV one. You've got 3 lines of text, I think, on that one. It's
Yeah,
just all too busy.
it's terrible. I'm just trying to think if one of the Puma teams in South America copped one of these. Can you imagine the sponsors on their shirts?
They're like, this is very minimalistic. What's going on here?
I don't know if you've seen the photo of all the shirts on the wall that they posted on Puma Football, but like the one thing I would have like added to these shirts, I reckon that would have made it look good, is the sticky tapes positioning on the shirts. Like if they had these little highlighted spots, I think the shirts could have been powerful. But on top of that, like we always remember that Metro Stars and even Galaxy shirts where front and center we had that massive sort of name associated to the club, but we also had the manufacturer brand and the club's badge. Do you think
Mm.
like if we removed the lines, the 2 lines around the name, and then put the badge on it, do you think it could have been a classic with a massive sort of name in the front instead of a sponsor? And
I still
they
don't
could have
think.
spun it. They could have spun it, being like, "This is the shirt for the city." You know, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I've always been outspoken about the spiels behind kits, but what are your thoughts? Do you think there was ways of saving this?
Well, I saw someone mock up one that made the Man City one look more similar to the Italy one. So the Italy one actually had the badge on it. It was just sort of with that line in the middle, and it was next to the Puma logo. I don't know whether it was the Italian FA just stamping their foot on that one, and nobody else doing the same. So I
Yeah.
saw somebody do that with the Man City logo, and it made the world of difference. I still hated it, but I didn't absolutely despise it and get angry every time I looked at it. It was still just like, that's really quite rubbish. But it rescued so much of it, and even when you think of, I mean, it used to happen in sort of Serie A quite a lot back in the 90s, but Middlesbrough had it. And sort of, I think it might have been sort of 96 or so. They had their badge on the arm, so
Oh,
they
wow.
didn't. They actually had nothing here. I think it was a area produced shirt. So they had the manufacturer there. They had nothing here, and it was on the arm, and it was jarring, but it worked. And I think that you can move it because people have done central ones, and then you saw Nike kind of mess with the order of things with the England kits this year and some other kits as well. And even so, bringing it back to Bristol City, Hummel have sort of started switching which way around the badges on a central ordering.
Mm-hmm.
Those are okay. You kind of go, oh, that's a bit different, and then you kind of settle into it. But by removing it completely, that I think you change too much too soon. I think, and maybe that's what it is. If they brought in something a bit more gradually, like maybe having this writing to begin with, but also with the badge, then maybe people would have been a bit more receptive.
Yeah, I think the badge is definitely a connection to the club, who the club is, and then like there's so many different versions. Like we had that weird design where there was the badge in the middle and then the manufacturers on the side. And being in
Yeah.
the A League here in Australia, like we have this thing. We've got the club's badge, we've got the league badge in the middle, and then we've got the
Yeah.
manufacturers here. So we've got three, and then of course, like you look at South America, and they've got more than just that on the shirt. So in the end, I think it's really depending on the fans and if they want to buy it. This is definitely going to sell. I think my favorite one out of the lot, and you can tell me yours if you had to choose one. Um, the Stade Rennes, the French team. I don't know if you've seen their one. That's
Mm-hmm.
definitely one. That's definitely one that spoke to me, and I thought to myself, that's definitely when you know that the sponsor highlights the shirt more than the actual shirt highlights the sponsor.
Yeah. So somebody said that that was their favorite, and I think I said that it was probably their favorite because it was the least bad of the lot. I think that what you're saying there about the sponsor does save it because it's different and it's not so heavily text based, which a lot of them are. Um, I mean, the Shakhtar one is probably the worst of the lot
I
because
just
it's
saw
quite a
that.
sort of
I didn't realize
cartoon
Shakhtar
type.
had one.
Yeah, and I feel for those guys because they've had Nike for quite a while and they've always had quite neat and
What the
very
hell is
tidy kits.
this?
I've always quite liked them. But then they switched to Puma this year, and then suddenly they've got to deal with this. So they switched from to the I'm not even sure who the sponsor is, but it's very sort of cartoon like. It's very yellow with a
Yeah.
very kind of
And
punchy
there's
text.
another team. I'm not sure if you follow this. It was like Crescendo. Crescendo. They've
Mm.
got one as well. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah, from the Russian ones.
Yeah. What the
Yeah,
hell
they're
is
Russian. Yeah.
this?
So that's why
I'm
the
actually
Stadren one is actually the best because it's just got that massive S going on
looks like
instead.
a
So the
Superman.
sponsor helps it. Which is why Valencia is probably one of my like the highest rated ones on there as well, because they don't have a sponsor, because they managed to dodge a Socios shaped bullet.
Yeah, it's funny speaking about, again, I don't want to butcher this club's name, but Stud Nice Reigns or whatever you want to say. They have a
Sorry, I've been
shirt
saying
in.
Nike, and you've been saying Nike the whole time, so it's
It
fine.
is it is Nike because it's a Greek god.
I know.
And like doing
Have it
doing
like
work
that
for
for me.
Nike, I got told off a few times being like, never call it Nike when you come into the office. It's always Nike. And I'm like, okay, done. And then again, remember Adidas, the one and only Adidas that we know, his name was Adolf Dassler.
Yeah.
So like we don't say Adolf Dassler or Adi Dassler. Have you seen the Rans shirt that back in the 90s? It has the massive Pfizer on the front. I don't know if you've seen it. I
No.
I was speaking to a few friends on Twitter, shirt community, and I said to myself, I'm definitely going to be wearing this the day I get my jab. Just run around the
Yeah.
massive, just small badge, and then it just they're old because one of their club sponsorships was Pfizer, and I was like, oh, this is definitely hot commodity, this shirt, and it sold for $280 Australian dollars on the eBay, so it was going hot.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a sort of topical one, isn't it?
It's like
Suddenly rocketed in value.
sometimes sponsors could definitely make the shirt and then make the shirt's value increase. Actually, one shirt just came up on Subside's post I'm seeing now is the massive New York, not New York Red Bulls, the Leipzig. They've got the massive Red Bull sponsorship. So, like, is there one sponsor that you like? And then we'll end it with a few more questions.
Um, I can't even remember what it was called, but the old Bordeaux sponsor, and I think it was a restaurant, and it was like very
Oh, yeah.
curly writing. It was something. It started with R. It was region. That was a really classy sponsor, and I
Mhm.
do think that sponsors can define shirts. So I think that a lot of people were saying that they might not. I keep coming back to Inter, so pardon me for that.
No, you're
But
fine.
people
Pirelli is
would
the
say that
best.
if you had Pirelli on the current one, then it would make all the difference. But you saw people coming back and making new versions of the Man United shirt with Sharp on it, and then the Liverpool away with Carlsberg on it. And I think that while they are defined by the teams as well, they do become part of the design.
More so, yeah.
And those sort of clean elements of it, so it can become very important. So as with TWUAN Security on here, there was another one. They used the exact same template the next year, just with a different sponsor. And I saw that one a few times, and I just didn't buy because it was specifically that sponsor really stuck with me when I was a child.
Yeah.
And I think that
Exactly why I bought
I
this
did.
one.
I did. Yeah, it's nice that.
That look, it definitely sells you, you know.
It does. And what I was trying to say was, I tried to do something this morning. Was I tried to do a Venn diagram of good shirt, shit sponsor, which was going to be the Inter shirt with the Socio sponsor on, and then in the middle was going to be the new Juve third kit, because that's a bad shirt, and also the new Jeep variant is pretty poor. And then on the other side, I was trying to think of a bad shirt, good sponsor, and I actually couldn't do it. I had zero content to work with. I was like, what do I like as a good sponsor? And I couldn't really think of one. And even when I did think of one, they didn't tend to have terrible shirts. They were quite relatively solid in the end.
You can have one of these ones like that when you have multiple sponsors on it.
Oh, yeah, I love those. I actually really like the Mexican ones where they come along and you've pretty much all of them have Coca-Cola written on the side, and
Coca-Cola's the best sponsor. That's actually
big
one shirt I need. I need a Coca-Cola sponsored shirt. That, and also being a photographer, I need Canon. I do have a Japanese version, Yokohama Marinos, that says Kodak on the back, and then Nissan on the front. But like that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part about football shirts. It just never stop.
No, you never do, and that's my part. I've been quite quiet this week in terms of my arrivals. I've become very friendly with my postman, and he was asking me what was going on because he hadn't been delivering me shirts much this week. And it has become a bit of like, with using the word withdraw is very dramatic, but it kind of feels like that. Like I find myself checking every 10 minutes at the door because I've got a porch, so people will drop stuff in the porch.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go and I'll open the thing to see the porch and nothing's in there. Oh, right. So,
Oh,
and there's been, I think this has been one of the quietest weeks I've had. In terms, I think I've only had something delivered twice this week, whereas normally I'll have something delivered every week. As
and
you
it's
can
the
tell by
worst
the
when
fact I've
it's
been through like
yeah, and
430 odd
it's the
shows,
worst when it's your wife's package that's arrived, and you're like, oh well, it's not mine today.
which was yes, which was
Yeah,
yesterday as well.
for me, it's every day. Um,
Yeah.
to finish off our conversation, is there anything on the topic that you'd like to bring out to the community? Anything you'd like to say? Anyone to keep out? There's definitely videos that you've created that I have taken inspiration from. I recently bought a shirt and I got scammed on eBay, and then I was like, Jesus, even though I've made videos about this, I have watched yours. So for everyone listening and watching, check out Jake's video about spotting fakes and just talking about the insides and outsides of a shirt. Is there any other videos that you're going to probably create for us in the future?
Yeah, I haven't really got like a massive plan in terms of stuff for what my content is. It's kind of all been very off the cuff. So whenever I get the chance to, I think, oh, I've got a little bit of time to do a video, I'll come at one. And I think that the fakes thing is interesting because we're always learning about something. So I do get people come to me and ask me about, they'll show me pictures and say, what do you think about this one? And sometimes you'll see somebody who's been around for quite a while not pick up something that you thought was quite obvious. So I think that it's just the knowledge sharing of, even if we think it's quite something that should be well known, doesn't mean it necessarily is.
Yeah.
So whether it be sort of like pen marks on a label or something like that, which means it's probably a counterfeiter has counted these things off, or the specific codes that are usually used, just so if it helps people save time and effort and things like that, that it's just stuff that helps make the community a better place, really.
No, it's a good shout. Also, that bloody counterfeits little mark on the tag has given me a few heart attacks over time when I've seen it. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no. Yeah, look, I think when it comes to the video that you made, you definitely are well spoken, and I think when it comes to understanding the shirt, you do that well, and I'm really excited to personally see a lot more videos from your end. Definitely push the boundaries on that. I do like it, and I think it really inspiring. Yeah, look, I think from my end to your end, it's pretty late on your end, and my little one's crying over here, so you definitely know how that is. Any shout outs, anything you'd like to tell people, and where can we find you online?
So yeah, I'm Kitnerd UK on Twitter, and I'm in the process of setting up kitnerd.co.uk as a website, just to test the waters on that and see how that goes.
Awesome.
I do have an Instagram as well. It's also still Kitnerd UK. I'm not quite as active as I am on Twitter, so that's the main place where I am on there.
I feel like everyone in the UK is using Twitter more than Instagram. That's kind of disappointing. Instagram's where it's at.
Yeah, I was an early adopter with Twitter, so I've always got that sort of fanboy attitude as well. I always want to help them make it work, because I will make all the difference, obviously.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely check you out. And then also, so can people still find you on Depop, or is everything going to be moved over to the .com website soon?
I'm still on Depop, but yeah, I'll probably move over to the website soon. But yeah, all my links are on my Twitter page anyway. Until we know when that's up. I think the one thing I will say, and this is very early in the year, I will be doing and this is me almost committing to the bit as well, a charity Christmas prize draw as well. So I'm going to be trying to gather up as many prizes as I can. I've already had some very kind people say that they're going to donate some prizes, but basically make this a bigger prize pile as I can for everybody. Get the community to choose a charity as well. And then basically what we will do is donate to that charity to enter into the prize draw, and then hopefully everybody will get some lovely Christmas presents.
I like that. Look, I think when it comes to football community as well, charity is a really good part. I just like I said at the start of this episode, I just wish that sort of pressure on people to be up to date and with the latest shirts wasn't there. And I think that's the one message I think both you and I definitely portray is like, don't rush into buying shirts, and always make sure you have enough to buy the latest shirt. Like, take your time and wait for sales. There's no point putting yourself into any debt or even any stress just to get the shirt to be a part of the cool crew. Like, there's no cool crew. Like, make sure you just do your own thing every time. On that note, look, honestly, thank you so much, mate. It's been a pleasure. I'm really excited to make this episode. You're the first one since January from me, so this is definitely a good
I mean,
way to take the duck. Um, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy your rest, and hopefully the little ones don't wake you up mid during their sleep.
yeah. Well, thank you very much. I hope you have a very stressless day ahead
Oh,
of
mate.
you as well.
Yeah, I'm letting you know I'm in the future right now. It is Saturday morning. It is a perfect, nice winter's day here. Hopefully, it's a sunny day in the UK. Is it ever sunny in the UK?
It's been well, it's a bit damp.
Well, thank you so much, mate. To everyone watching, make sure you check him out on all socials. As always, please stay away from stupid people, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.